they get a rink and you get to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. It is really it's really fun. I like to build every program I've ever been with. Um, my NCAA program built from scratch. So a midget program I built from scratch. When I did my 12 years in prep school, they had struggled early on. So I love to build. That's just kind of my nature, and I like to see that grow.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. How about you? I understand you've been into quite a few things. I
I
see.
have been. Yeah, I'm going to present a little bit today on it, so I won't
Oh, okay. All right, great.
divulge the whole thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah, don't be,
yeah, it's
no spoilers, no spoilers.
I am not actually currently coaching, but this is not part of what I'm presenting on. But I did run my hockey schools in the summer. I love it. And it is my 28th year of running the hockey school. So it's
Oh.
morphed into the fact that a third of the kids are on bursary, and so it is all levels at all times, basically, and just a fun chance for girls to learn from women, and be surrounded by other girls who really love the game, no matter what level they're at. So, yeah, it's been a fun journey, and I do. My daughter doesn't play anymore, so I do miss coaching. I think eventually I'll get back into coaching when she's finished her activities and doesn't want to hang out with us anymore. But right now she does. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've run hockey schools too, so I know that's a lot of work. Did you budget any of your time so you can actually get out on the ice and have a little fun too?
So I'm on the ice all day long, all 5 days. So
Cool. That's awesome.
in terms of budgeting my time, I don't do that very well. In fact, we have 150 girls in Winnipeg on two ice surfaces running simultaneously. And then we have 90 girl goalies in Oakville, in here in Mississauga, Oakville. Um, and so 90 is the biggest capacity that I've had for goalies. That's just a lot of craziness all at the same time. A lot of crazy goalies.
Yeah, that's a lot of
Um,
up downs right there.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. But because we had so many goalies, it was really my first year that I had to be way more hands off because we had to run um, two separate things. Whereas I've usually been pretty hands on for the goalies in that I can spend the whole day with them, really get to know the kids. But this, just like Winnipeg, I think my biggest thing that I'm trying to do is teach the coaches to learn how to teach the kids. So that's kind of started now in Oakville more so, like giving them more autonomy, realizing they are really good at this, and getting them to be more involved in the game.
How
So,
are they
yeah.
receptive? Are they receptive to what you're
Yeah, I
trying
mean,
to?
some of the instructors in Winnipeg have been with me more than 20 years. So they're all really good at, and they all know, and they all want to teach in this environment. We have junior instructors that then, recycle. So now the kids, most of the instructors have also now been to the camp and now are coaching as well. So
Okay,
I
so
would
that's
say they're super receptive. In fact, um, lots of them that are still currently playing. So like Elaine Chuli plays for the Montreal Victoire. Um, like I just love being out there watching her teach too, so that I'm learning from her to be able to impart that wisdom to the other instructors as well. Or pairing her up with, a 18-year-old that wants to get into coaching so that she can see and things like that. So yeah, that's the fun aspect of it. I would say that women just in general tend to be more receptive. Not always. I mean, there's certainly egos in women's hockey as well, but tend to want to learn and have put themselves in that environment because they want to be coaches. Like nobody's being told they have to be there. But
yeah.
so I have 25 coaches in Winnipeg, and then I have 18 coaches in Oakville, but then another 20 shooters. And the shooters have really turned into coaches as well, which is also fun to see these players that are like learning how to explain a drill so that they understand it, which is fun.
Yeah, I think that's a great atmosphere. I think it's a great situation for anyone to learn how to coach as opposed to being thrown into it at the youth
Totally.
level,
Thrown to the
right?
wolves with a team all of a sudden, right? And you're like,
Yes.
I've never even led, like one of the girls, she's 15. She had to do her first station ever, first station she's ever like taught kids. So she's just a great girl. But I skate down to her and she doesn't have her gloves on. Her gloves are on top of the um, net. She doesn't have a stick. And she's like trying to explain crossovers on a circle, which is fine. But like just, not thinking through the whole situation. So then, watching her and then talking to her afterwards, like, what were you feeling? And she's like, my heart was racing. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't like, why are they listening to me? And anyway, so some positive reinforcement. Yeah, always fun. But anybody that's ever done hockey schools and been in that environment knows what that's like. So that's just as rewarding, I think.
Yeah, well,
Sami,
that's awesome.
I just wanted to get on with your presentation. I'm so glad.
Yeah, is Tom there? Tom, you
Yeah,
there? Okay,
yeah, I'm here,
perfect.
but the video on this old computer isn't working.
Oh, so you can't see me.
I can see you, just can't
Oh,
see me,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, no problem.
which isn't
I'm gonna
always a bad thing.
Sammy,
Well,
just
Wally, what I was thinking is I have a slide deck, so I'm gonna share it and
yeah,
then we'll just talk through.
yeah.
I'll present about a class and then we'll talk about as a group how that relates to us.
Okay, I'm going to tell you before you start.
Okay.
Uh, I wrote down this morning, what was your motivation for taking the course? And when I talked to you, you were so um, excited about the similarity of leadership in business and sports, and the word teamwork came in. And so I wrote down the word team, and what does that include? And I wrote down the word inclusiveness, and then I put down the word values. So I just wrote those things, and I always like to have some thoughts and questions in mind. But for you to continue your education, which is already quite extensive, how did you get in, decide to do this, and why? And then go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, and then go ahead. So great question. And I don't really think I even have the why yet. And I think what I've realized now being I'm just months away from my 50th birthday. And so I think now being at a age as a woman with being okay with not knowing the why, I think that's different. That is not what I usually I have a goal and I am driven towards that goal. This was just a learning for learning's sake, which yeah, it's something I've kind of always wanted to do. I had explored it right out of university when I graduated from Stanford in engineering. I wanted to get into business. I knew I wanted to run my own business, be an entrepreneur of some sort. And the advice that was given to me was, yes, you can do an MBA right away. You'll learn some stuff, but you won't have anything to contribute. And you won't get as much out of it as you will if you go to work and actually get a job and then have the ability to contribute to the conversation in a much higher way. So that's kind of what I did. I've run a business now for 25 years. And so this opportunity came up. And it was, I'm now 2 years removed, 3 years removed from the PHF folding. And I think, despite that being hard and loving having been the president there, there was some open gap. I work full time professional speaker, but I do like to be busy. And yeah, so this was just the opportunity. So I had the conversation with Wally. I know this is being recorded, so I had the conversation with Wally about how it relates to coaching and hockey. And I mean, there's so many similarities, but we are 6 classes in out of 30. So I'll just explain kind of how it works. It's a business program that is jointly run through Cornell and through Queen's in Canada. And so you get a degree from both, which I thought was really incredible. It's called the EMBA Americas program. So we have people from Canada, from the US, and from Mexico in the class, as well as some internationals. There's one from India, one from Germany, and some spotted ones from around the world. It's 4 10-day intensive, what are like boot camps, which is kind of like a training camp for sport. And those are spread out through a year and a half. So we've already had one at Cornell. We have one coming up in December at the Smith School of Business, which is Queen's Business School downtown Toronto. Then we go to New York City, which is where Cornell School of Business is. And then we go to Kingston, which is where Queen's is. And then the final 6 months, we do a consulting program with our team, and I'll explain how the teams work. And that has to be overseas somewhere. So it can't be in North America. I don't know how you pick the organization. And honestly, right now, I don't feel confident that any business should rely on my information, but hopefully by then I know enough that we can consult as a group. But yeah, that's how the 2 years work. And then at the end, you get to walk and at both Cornell and Queen's and get the degree. Not that really that matters to me at all. It really is just the learning in each class. And so, as I said, we're 6 classes in. The classes kind of run congruently. We now, when we're not on campus, we do classes every other weekend. It's all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So you have 4-hour blocks of a class. You get lunch and then you have another class. So it is a lot of work, but everybody else also has a real job. Most people have families, and so people are just juggling. And that's where the team really comes into play, is that at certain weeks, people will pick up the slack for you. And when I was running my hockey schools, obviously you're exhausted and tired and you don't have any time. People are picking up some of the extra work for you, and then you pick it up when they might be busy. So I'll talk a little bit about that as well. On that, Wally, do you have any questions, or you want me to dive right in?
I think you should dive in. To me, that's a great and necessary background to beginning it. So let's go formally to it. And
Okay.
and
I just sent a request to share
Yeah.
my screen. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about each class, and then Peter, Wally, Tom, I want you guys to chime in about how you think it relates, not just how I think it relates, but yeah. So we'll go from there. So can you see my screen?
I think so.
It says from the classroom to the ice rink.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. All right, so we're going to explore the parallels between business and what I have learned so far, and 25 years running my own business as well, in the classroom. So, when we first got to campus at Cornell, that was our first classes, and so quickly they try to establish teams. So you are put into teams of 5. And the way that they actually create the team is they do a disc profile on each person, and they try to then put you in teams where there would be conflict. And that's the beauty of the program, is that you are attempting to be the best teammate and the best team that you can throughout this whole program. So we have one team for a year, and then we have to go into a second team as well. So you can see on campus, we did an outdoor adventure program that lots of teams have done, lots of sports teams have done, where it's very low risk of injury, but high risk of emotional and psychological stress. So you're quickly put into stressful situations, so that you can really get to know your team really quickly in a very short time frame. Let's see. My team that I got put into, I have 2 people from Houston, 2 people from the upstate New York area, and then myself as a Canadian. And I have one is a surgical nurse, one is a lobbyist, a lawyer, a lobbyist for an insurance company in Washington, D.C. One is a 3rd generation running his own family business, and is being primed to take over the company. And then Cornell also has a program for their employees. So one runs the engineering department. She's the chief administrator in the engineering department. And so we all have such different backgrounds. And that's, I think, what makes each team unique. I really do think our team has been super successful, but it's because we laid the groundwork in a really great way. You can see here on the other, So the setup that I had for the outdoor during the summer, I was still watching the kids swimming in the pool while I was trying to be on class. So you still are juggling a lot of things at the same time. But you try to make it work. And you're just seeing your team and the professor. You're not seeing the whole class of there's 150 people in the class and 2 sessions, so 75 in your class. So this is us on campus. So the very first class we took, and I think this one will generate the most amount of conversation. But this was called Leadership and High Performance Teams. So this is where they really just throw you quickly into a high performing team. So I'm just going to open something else here. I had written down some stuff about this. So let me just highlight this. But this is basically Wally's MO, where you're creating a team very quickly. You have contracts for the team, and you're just ensuring that everybody has their voice heard. I'm just looking for something right here. Okay. So what I wrote down about this class in general, I think this was probably my favorite class and the easiest for me as a team sport athlete because we're just taught to get along with everybody. And that's not a skill that everybody has. And so people have to learn that and they have to know how to do it. So this is basically hockey coaching 101 for the off-ice side of the game. And so we had to create a team contract. We had to create values and systems for our team of 5 people. Just like at the start of the season, you have to set the expectations. This is how we practice. This is how we are going to treat each other. This is how we are going to handle wins and losses. This is what we are going to do. Having that all talked about and written is so key for teams and hockey teams, and also what we were learning here as well. We were taught how to give 360-degree feedback. So how to not only give constructive feedback, or positive feedback, but constructive feedback as well, so that you're in a psychologically safe environment. And that's where team and trust really comes into play. So similar to giving video review to players or player evaluation, giving and receiving honest and constructive feedback is so key to helping build trust. It's one thing if you're in a really you're in a winning environment all the time, everything's great, but that's not really the reality of most teams. So you have to have that layer of trust built so that when the player knows you give feedback, you're doing it from a caring position and not just trying to be critical. There is certainly different dynamics to being virtual and in person. And that's hard to manage. 10 days as a team, it's really easy to create team. You're around each other all the time. The days are long. You're spending all day together, but then you have to then also keep that going in the virtual environment as well. And I thought that was similar to hockey in that some players, they're on different lines, they're in different roles. And the course really has taught you how to bridge those gaps so that everyone still feels part of a cohesive unit and that you're continuing to keep everybody feeling valued because you're doing team building activities the whole time. So when we're having virtual meetups, which we have a team meeting every Thursday from 6 to 10 p.m., no matter what, it's just written into our schedule so that we can work on team projects. We're also setting aside their time to continue to build team. And it might be something like bring your like tonight we have a meeting, bring your favorite instrument for measuring and explain why that is. So things like that just allow people to have the conversation. They're still talking. We're not just talking about work or hockey all the time. And then building buy-in. A high performance team isn't just about talent. It's about each member knowing that their role, what their role is and feeling valued, whether they're the star forward or the fourth line grinder, the backup goalie. Everybody's just as important. So I think the takeaway for coaches is that culture is built intentionally and that great teams don't just happen. They're shaped by strong, consistent leadership. So I'm going to stop sharing there and open it up. What are your guys' thoughts on my very first class?
Well, I've got questions, but I'll wait till Tom or Peter might respond. But my wheels were turning and I wrote some notes. So, Peter?
Yeah, so first off, it's great. um, I'm jealous with your ability to manipulate technology because with me, a chalkboard and piece of chalk is still technology as far as I'm concerned. But seriously, so when we bring up culture, this is always a question, and I don't think it's ever too early to begin to develop culture. And that was one of the things when I was working with a youth organization that, and maybe it was me, I'm more than happy to take certainly some measure of responsibility, trying to get that point across to coaches, even at the youngest level, even at the mite level. I mean, culture starts with you're not whacking the kid in line in front of you with your stick. When coach is talking to you, you're listening and you're paying attention. But it always seems, from what I've seen so far, is that comes as things happen, as opposed to knowing that those things are going to happen and something like what you're doing, right, of course, at the adult level, but setting the tone early about talking to the kids about how we behave, how we act towards each other and teammates, and explaining to them, you can use the big word culture, that's what culture is. But that's lacking. So I guess the question is there a point where it just doesn't resonate, or is that on the individual to see that it does resonate? What do you think?
I mean, I think that's a great question, and that's where it is a continuous effort. And I think, I mean, you guys do this already because you guys are great coaches, and it is it doesn't end with. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is it doesn't end with that training camp at the start of the season. It ends when the team ends. It is an ongoing process of developing that culture and making sure that you're mimicking the right values, and ensuring that you are in a safe environment where you can also keep reinforcing positive values. Kid keeps whacking somebody with their stick, you can only tell them so many times, but you got to keep doing that's your role as a coach, to make that kid a better person and to really get through to them in various different ways. And, obviously I don't have all the answers for it, but I think that was the biggest thing was that it's just an ongoing process to keep that going and making sure that everybody feels valued because, yeah, they're coming at it from such different ways. But yeah, I do feel like a lot of the onus is on the coach to make sure. And you said at one point too, I'm dealing with adults. I think that's where it's lost a lot in business is they don't do this. And this was so weird to me that this was so new for a lot of people, like that they didn't know these simple basic etiquettes. Our first couple meetings, we had some of the personalities that are like CEOs and like leaders, natural born leaders coming into the meeting and they just were like leading the meeting right away. They're the leaders. And like, I guess in other situations, I would have like, you would have just let that happen. But we had a contract in place to allow people to speak, to allow for no hierarchy, for everybody to have their voice heard. And we have a system where we have a different chair every month and it rotates. So that person has a little bit of power to allow that to happen. But I found that really intriguing that for us in hockey, that just seems so normal and natural.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Yeah,
yeah,
good question.
yeah.
can
And
you
I,
hear
I just
me?
I just feel like there's a little bit of the horse is out of the barn. Now we better close the door instead of heading it off to begin with and setting the parameters and expectations early on. Just like I know teams that like now their kids here now are probably about a month into their season, and now coaches are starting to talk about discipline and about hey, the kids got to behave better, and that should not have been
Yeah,
day one before we put the
totally.
horse in the barn, made sure the door worked and it did close. You know what I'm saying? I just found that simplistic yet interesting that it's taking this long to do something.
Yeah, you're so
Excuse me,
right.
can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, because I have no video on here. My name isn't on my screen anymore, so I wasn't
Yeah,
even sure
we
if I
can
was
see your
connected.
black screen, so you're
Yeah.
good.
Tom, turn your light out in the room. That's why.
Huh?
Turn the light on in the room. Maybe the light's off. It's dark.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, I just this is really important for me right now because the start of a season. We have this draft, so I had 7 returning players, but the draft I only got like 2 of them back, or 3 of them back. So it's totally different players, totally different parents. We had just a fantastic group of parents last year, and we have a first tournament this weekend. We play 4 or 5 games, and then we go to Kelowna in a couple of weeks. So managing the assistant coaches, I have 5 former players helping me coach. My son, and then goalie coach that played for me at Sept, and then 3 former players from U18, and then I think her name is Marlene, the goalie coach. She should be playing that pro league this year. She'll be
Wasno?
here tonight. Hmm? French name.
Marlene Boissonneau, I think is her name.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
She'll
that's
be there
fun.
tonight for 30 minutes. I have to
Oh, awesome.
get a plan to practice that work with the goalies, and I got goalies that need a lot of work. This year, the goalies don't seem as good as other years. Organization, but and then there's a skills coach that it's kind of a girls hockey career hired as a skills coach, which I mean I was skills coach in Salzburg and for the Edge, so and my son is incredibly skilled. Well, anyway, we got to work him in somehow for a couple of practices, and it's all a challenge. Like who are the leaders, who are everything, and there's a huge difference. I have 11 first-year players, and about 7 of them are tiny. And then my returning players, they look like a pro team the other day, like snapping the puck around, made about 8 passes and scored a goal on a power play in there. They totally dominate when they're on the ice, and then most of the other players, and it's not even close to that. So meshing all that together is a challenge. And what you're saying, that giving everybody value and this sort of thing is.
It sounds like Peter's Puerto Rico team.
Yeah. So but that's kind of the challenge at the start of every season. But it would be nice if you got the 7 players back and you could build from there. You've only got a few back, so basically 90% of a brand new team.
And Tom, do you do like a contract at all on culture or anything that Wally like? Do you do anything like that?
Oh yeah, once we get
Start of the season?
like we just picked our team. We played our first game with our team on last weekend. So I always do a team covenant, but I'll do that when we're in Kelowna.
And do they have a say on it as well?
They make the team covenant.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
The players meet by themselves. I give them guidelines and show them a few covenants so they know what they'll be doing, and probably get the older players to lead it. Someone else and come up with maybe 5 or 7 points that guide the team throughout the year. I'm waiting for all that till you're in a hotel and there's a lot of downtime because we go all over we don't have a home rink. We jump all over the place, all over the city. And you get there, the parents have rushed from work. We practice at 4 o'clock, and
Tom, can I interrupt? Just trying to keep in line with sort of leadership. I understand your situation.
Wally, I'm answering Sammy Joe's question.
Yeah. Well, I have Sammy. I just want you to know, and I was going to ask Tom if he would bring up the mission statement as it relates to the covenant, which as an organization, I'm responsible for delivering with all age groups, parents, players, and coaches. And it's sort of a exercise to attempt to get people on the same page. So go ahead, Tom, just continue. I just wanted to get that in because the covenant is part of what the glue the players put it together for themselves and it complements the mission statement. It's so important. Who plays on what, who plays with who, these are important. But this is going to determine the teamwork that's going to occur all year, not just with Tom's team, but with all teams in an organization. So I just wanted to throw that out because
I want to wait till we go to Kelowna. It's Thanksgiving weekend, so the players all and the coaches get to know the players. I meet with every player on the bus on the wave, so know them a little bit, and they'll do the covenant, and then I'd like to do the team on Wally's talking about after that. After parents also get to know each other. Like last year, Cassie was on it. And they went on a wine tour together and did all kinds of stuff. So now they kind of know each other. So, anyways, that's the challenge of the beginning of a season with a brand new team. Basically, the stuff you're talking about is great. To say places I've worked or stuff like that, they don't have that cohesiveness that everybody kind of knows their role and sort of things. There can be real conflicts.
Mhm.
I'm done.
No, it's great, Tom.
well, Sami, and Tom, can I just talk about a situation that we're involved with JHC? We have I think 11 teams, all in the same boat as Tom. They're trying to find a chemistry, and but the object, the outcome is the object, but there's a process to achieve that outcome. And I think we're facing it from the get-go is that people want to win, period. The score gets people to lose track of the process and the teamwork that's needed to achieve success. And we just want all coaches to realize, as a culture, me representing and hired by an organization, we just want them to realize it's a process and they're there to benefit the culture that we would like the organization to create, that the organization is striving for. So when you talk leadership, you have teams within the organization competing, and the organization's trying to change its culture. And this is part of what we're doing. The covenant is a part of culture. The mission statement's a part of culture. And it's a never-ending challenge. It's a never-ending process. And I think it's a lifelong process. So go ahead, Sami. You're back to it.
Just on what you said, Wally, the one of the most interesting things that we put into our contract, actually, I mean, these are all very high performing individuals, and we went through our list of priorities in our lives. And in my group of five, we have 16 kids combined. And so, you're working 9 to 5 and you want time with your kids too. So making sure that we held space for that, so that we decided that we would have a 90% policy, that we would get projects to 90% and then be fine with sending it in. That last 10% usually takes so much time as you're tweaking it and you're doing, and that we would be fine with that, that we would just kind of be able to stop ourselves and go back to our families. So I think that has made for a really happy environment too, that we're not just nitpicky on the final details, and realizing that the degree is the most important thing and that we all get through it together. So anyways, that was just a side note for what we put into our contract. But you could see we did some fun things as well. We did the egg drop, which I feel like everybody's done at some point in their schooling, whether they're in elementary or you're trying to protect the egg. but we had to do it in a very quick environment and we had to do some statistical analysis around it, but it's fun, a fun process. So that is my team. And yeah, just a fun group of individuals.
Sammy,
Okay, so go
can I
ahead.
give you
Yes.
a quick question?
Yeah.
Wally talked about with teams the importance of knowing your role. So do you do anything? Is there anything? And you're probably going to get to this because I got to leave in 15 minutes to get my granddaughter. So I want to ask the question:
Okay. Yeah.
Is there anything you do in this that there's knowing your role, right? But then there's also accepting your role that
Hmm.
someone assigns to you. Is there anything that you do with this where you put someone out of their comfort zone where they may be that leader, but that's not the role that you're putting them in, and seeing how they react with that and how they deal with that, and also how they can now become in tune with, what, as a leader, I'm telling everybody what to do, but how is that taken when you're on the other end of it?
Yeah, interesting question. And I think in sport we have a little bit less time. Here we have a little bit more time to be able to do that. But the way that they've set it up at this program is we do have a chair every month. So they lead the meetings for that month. They're in charge of the agenda, but they're not actually leading the projects. The projects are in a class. So for instance, we had to do a marketing project where we had to pick a product and do a go-to market, all the marketing that goes around that. And so for each one of the different classes and the projects, we have a team lead and then you have a second. And the team lead is supposed to be somebody that doesn't feel as comfortable with the material. So I found that really interesting. The second is the expert. So the team lead is somebody that has to step up to do, maybe you've never done financial accounting before and you have to figure out the team project for financial accounting. So you're the one responsible, but that also means that you can delegate, but you have to bring it all together and you have to really understand the concept. So what I found really interesting about that is that you have, as a lead, you don't feel that comfortable, but you have an expert you can always rely on. You have your team, but you also learn the most in that project. So when you're not the team leader, the second, you're not really learning as much about that project or that whatever you're doing. So I have found that that is a really interesting way to get people to accept their roles, is that put them in uncomfortable situations and see them flourish, really, like they have to kind of figure it out, but that they have a safety there in that you have a second that is their is the expert. So I have found that in this program has really helped. In my hockey world, I feel like I didn't know about those other roles until I was put in those other roles. So as a kid that did well in sports, being the go-to in a lot of the different sports I did, you're competitive and you want to win. And I don't think I noticed a lot of the other roles, the people that weren't playing, the people that weren't on the power play, the ones not playing, until I was put into those roles. So somehow reversing that psychology so that kids see those other roles at a younger age. And I'm sure that you all have ideas on how you could do that, but you don't have to necessarily put somebody into that role, but maybe the superstar and the kid that's not playing, they work on something together, and they start to see what each other goes through, the pressure to be the superstar, the frustration of not playing, those kind of things. So I don't know if that helps, Peter, but I thought that was a good thing in this program.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
no, it does 100%. I think it's kind of just the whole what it's like to be in the other person's shoes kind of thing. And
Hmm.
you can learn a lot from that, right? Like maybe that kid that maybe isn't as talented as an athlete is really good at something else, and that ends up teaching a measure of respect to the really good athlete. That, well, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. And the empathy, right? Just the empathy. I
Yeah,
think that creates a great team.
awesome.
Sami, your example of somebody being appointed the leader in an area they're not competent in. What I thought of immediately was now you become the learner and you rely on your team members.
Hmm.
and they're going to teach you.
Hmm.
And Daryl Belfry and his coaching philosophy is the student is the teacher.
Totally. Yep.
And in this case, you may be the leader, but when you're thrust into something, the people around you have their areas of expertise. And when you're put in that role of that you're not competent in, you depend on them.
Hmm.
I think that's the biggest lesson of all of being out of your comfort zone in a leadership role and really asking questions and seeking help.
Yeah, and that's not always easy for high performers, right? So I think that that's been a real key learning point.
Yeah. Okay, Sept.
Okay, on to the next class. So the next class was called Role of the General Manager, which I thought was going to be about how to lead. However, it turned into way more, I want to say, analysis and formulating strategy. And so it was all about strategy and figuring out strategies of these big companies. But the parallel that I saw to coaching is that as the head coach, you're essentially the GM of the team, especially in minor hockey roles. And you're basically the GM of a company, but just at a smaller scale. So this class really taught me to think strategically about long-term direction and not just the next game. So formulating strategy, like creating a season plan, deciding whether your team's going to be fast transitioning team or defensive, maybe that you want a grinding team, just the business, just as like similarly, businesses decide whether they want to be low cost leaders or premium niche players, what they want, how they define success long term, and how they represent themselves out in the marketplace. It also taught me about resource allocation. So choosing in a business, obviously you're dealing with money, but choosing on a hockey team, which line to develop, how to balance ice time between veterans and rookies, similar to a GM allocating budget between research and development and marketing, maybe, but making those tough decisions to lift all boats essentially and making sure that everybody is competent in what they're doing isn't easy with resource or time allocation. Responding to crisis, we learned how to respond to crisis, putting ourselves in very tense situations and figuring out what we would do in those situations so we can become better. Now it's a controlled environment, but how this relates to hockey teams is how we as coaches deal with injuries. How do we deal with them in the moment? First off, like how do you respond to the crisis? What are the potential crises that could happen around a hockey team? And knowing that how you and your team will react. How do you react to a losing streak? How do you react in the locker room if there's drama? If there's kids fighting, kids don't like each other, how are you going to react? And how is the team going to react? So thinking about all of those scenarios before they actually happen. In a business, it's like navigating a PR crisis, or maybe there's a huge market disruption, but thinking about those before they actually happen so that you're set and you can just easily guide the ship. Competitive positioning. So scouting other teams and adapting your systems and analyzing competitors and adjusting company strategy is very similar in that you want to always know what other teams are doing so that you can best position your team to be ready to play against that team. Or holistically to be able to be so good that they just are going to outperform other teams. But the takeaway for coaches is to think beyond the tactics of the X's and O's and consider how every decision, like line combos, systems, practice time, all of that shapes the identity of your team, also the future success of your team as well. So I'm going to open it up now to questions. I'll stop sharing or not questions, but thoughts and comments on that. And you guys can go ahead. So maybe we'll do, Peter, I know you have to leave right away. So if you want any thoughts or on that, and then we'll go to Tom and Wally.
I just, I mean, I've always felt, I guess, it's like the term preaching to the choir, right? Because we all know how this relates from the athletic piece to the real business world, right? With employees, which are your team, and all, like you said, the situations of, maybe someone not getting along with someone necessarily at work because they don't have the same philosophies, be it politics, religion, whatever it may be, but finding a way to get to the same goal and the same end result. It's the same as in sports. But I think we have that. I think we're lucky to have been involved in athletics
Mhm.
because when you're working with people who have never been athletic oriented, some of these are really tough concepts. And I think it's just because we take it for granted because it's ingrained in who we are, not expecting other people to think the way you think. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make is expecting someone to think the way that you do simply because you're the one who has the idea in your head, right? So you need to find ways, like you're saying, like everything you're talking about doing, explaining it in an efficient, real way so that they're on the same page as you, just like I might not understand certain things that they understand based on their backgrounds. So I think
Mhm.
it's great. The correlation between the two is just excellent. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thanks, Peter. And that's really well said. Yeah, that's good. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that exactly what you said there is, and what Peter said is people's expectations aren't going to be the same as yours. Like I'm talking about my current situation. It's a situation start of every season. Like we play in a league that everybody makes the playoffs, which makes it absolutely totally different than when I'm coaching college hockey or something. You can't lose two in a row. That kind of stuff. So my goal is to develop every player, and every player is going to play in every situation, and they're going to basically, at the end of the game, be within 2 minutes of each other. Like this IMSTAT thing comes out of ice time. But the parents, they're used to watching the NHL, and every game you play has to be won. And I've had some real negative experiences with parents giving advice about all their advice ends up to be play your best players. Play your best
Hmm.
players all the time and you'll win. And with my team, it's like night and day, my best and my rookies.
Yeah, but that's not the point, right?
And so to get that, yeah. And in youth hockey, you have to have the parents on board because, especially at the level I'm coaching, they drive the kids. Like you get in the U18, the kids drive each other, but they're in the car with the kids all the time. So
Mhm.
the challenge is get them to understand that the whole thing's about development. The only thing our league means is we play in the first round of the playoffs. And last year was so even in our league. Like there's two divisions, so it's all over the province. So there's 7 teams in our side, and we've got a bye, and then two, 7, 3, 6, and all this. Every series for all 3 games. That's how even they are. They all went 3 games,
Wow.
and we ended up provincial, our big rivals in Calgary, 2 straight. But both teams were like 2-1 and 3 versions. So only it's hard because people the only thing they've seen is got to win every game and all this kind of stuff. And we'll win a lot of games. We played 4 exhibition games, I think, 1-1 in them. But
I'm just
that
pausing
that
you for
is
a
a
second,
challenge.
Tom. Oh, Peter left. Okay, go ahead. Keep
That's
going.
a challenge because if the parents can ruin it otherwise, because 2 years ago they did. This
Hmm.
little group of parents gave a 3-page essay on how I don't know anything about hockey, and we
Oh my
should have
gosh.
someone come and teach them team play and all this. They're insulting Wally at the same time because we've coached together and bring in a skills coach and all this sort of thing. And we were playing at about 70% then. And after that happened, we weren't quite the same team anymore because I think that had this negative vibe going. So
Yeah.
that's why it's so
And they
important
just
to
had
get.
the wrong reasons for being there. They did.
Yeah, there was one woman that thought everything about everything. She runs programs and all this, and some other people. But so that's a real challenge because otherwise it can make it not. It can ruin your season and make it not fun being there, where you were the
Hmm.
kid. So that's why stuff Wally does and doing the team covenant, you have to get everybody on board. And that's why this trip to Kelowna is critical.
Yeah,
I
so important.
only know a few of the people, but I have wonderful coaching staff. 3 girls played for me, and Jim and girls. I would never coach a female team without, it's not a girl or a woman being going to the dressing room, because you know what happens in the dressing room. Everything can be on board or go sideways.
Yeah. Okay, let's hand it over to Wally. Wally, what are your thoughts?
Well, when your title of the last slide was general manager,
Role of the GM.
Yeah.
That was the name of the class. Role of the general manager.
well, as you were talking in terms of us, all I could think about was role of the coach.
Yeah, exactly.
And when I looked at that, and Peter and Tom's responses were outstanding relative to our situations in elite minor hockey, which seems to make winning a distraction and something you have to deal with. And it is the biggest challenge. And I believe we're trying to do things as a organization and get everyone on the same page. And listening to Tom, you can see that there's a discomfort with giving equal ice time or fair ice time or earning ice time. Some coaches will, the variance in minutes is they'll play less than a pro in a hockey game on a team or two. And we don't like that as an organization. So when you're talking our female hockey organization, it doesn't want that to happen. It wants development to be prioritized. And that doesn't mean we're not trying to win. We're trying to be the best we can be, and that's what defining it is. So I love what you're doing, Sam, and I really don't, I just wanted to say the word coach, and then in my role, the word is mentor. When you talked about what you're doing now with your hockey schools, you're mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of well, they work for you, so they got to listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You've hired them and they buy in and you earn their trust and you figure out which buttons to push to get them to appreciate and respect and take to heart what you're doing. It's an art. Mentorship is an art, coaching is an art. One exercise I have done with coaches, one in particular who's overly competitive, shortens the bench. It could be a problem this year. Already we're having to deal with that in spring hockey, where there were still players being chosen and he played his best every game. Well, I had him record himself 3 years ago. He was so vocal on the bench. So he had to break down his feedback. He had to hear himself shouting and yelling at referees. And he came back from it much better. And he did it again later because sometimes they forget what they're doing and get back to themselves. But I think the heart's there, the want to do the things the right way is there, but winning gets in the way.
Yeah. Well said. Okay, let's get on to the next class. And I think this one is probably maybe the one that related most to actual coaching. Of the 6 classes, I would say 3 were my jam, and this was like right up my alley. And called Managing and Leading Organizations. So this course really focused on leadership as a choice, that as coaches, we are putting ourselves in those situations. And not everybody, some people are voluntold to be put in those situations, but they still are can choose to be the leader they want to be. So it's exactly like when somebody gets promoted at work, unbeknownst to them, sometimes managers are simply the best workers. It doesn't mean they know how to lead or manage an organization. And that happens in coaching. Sometimes, a player played, so they're like, I'm going to get into coaching, or they're on a minor hockey team, and other parents find out they played and they get put into a coaching role. But you can really choose to be the leader you want in that situation. And it's this class really taught us to lead through adversity and make really tough calls, and how to make those tough calls, how to be able to make tough choices and stand in your own shoes after you've made those choices. Um, so the decision to lead is that you can't really control whether your team wins every game, but you can control how you react to those situations, and you can prepare for those moments. You might not know as much about the X's and O's, or you might know a ton, but those moments after the game, after a win or loss, are just as important as during the game. Staying calm on the bench when the referee makes a call, being able to control your emotions, Wally, just as we talked about the previous coach that you had mentioned, but being able to uh, remain the leader in all situations and not letting your own emotions get away from you. That you as the leader have accountability, that you have to own the mistakes as a leader in a business organization and as a coach. So what happens after things go astray? Are you open and honest with the parent organization? Are you open and honest um, with the child or with the athlete? And I think that's just as important as in good times, making sure that you have that great communication between all aspects of the organization. But leaders really do have to own tough decisions. I mean, mistakes are made all the time in business, and how do you own that? And how does that endear you not only to your company, but to your customers as well? Thinking about the legacy you want to leave as well. Thinking about the impact you want to have on players beyond the win and losses. So developing athletes that grow into leaders themselves. And I know Tom and Wally, you guys do this so well. But that's not really thought of all the time when people are put into leadership roles. It's not just about me leading this team. It's about how these people are going to lead their teams in the future as well. I think it's like as a parent, when you see your child become a parent, and that's one of the biggest joys, I'm sure, as a grandparent as well. Listening and adaptability. So in class, we practiced framing problems and asking questions about those problems. So we did a ton of case studies about different businesses and thinking about how we would react in those different situations, or maybe how the leadership could have reacted in different ways. In hockey, this means asking players what they're seeing on the ice instead of just telling them what you think all the time, but allowing them to become the learner, as you like to refer to it as, Wally. And I love that. So biggest takeaway for me for coaches is that leadership is about daily choices that we make that shape not only the results, but also the people that we are coaching. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'll leave it open for discussion.
Peter,
Peter's back.
Go ahead, Wally.
well, no, everything you're saying, I'm totally in line with. Um, and it's so interesting, Sammy, you're talking, and I'm thinking the organization, and I'm also thinking the team, the coach, and
There's so many layers. Yeah.
there's layers of leadership, uh, and ultimately the involved in sports, minor sports, that leadership group at the top will change, and who knows what philosophy they want and the way it's going to go. So we're just trying to create a culture that's going to be a legacy of how we do things, to develop the life skills that make you the best player and person you can be. And that's sort of the essence of where I'm coming from anyway, but I'm sort of the do-gooder guy. And
Mm.
like I've said to Tom before, I'm the best loser in the world. I celebrate losing because that's learning. And I don't look at it as failure. And what I throw out to the coaches is their job is to make the other coach better. The players, your job is to make the other team better. And when you have that philosophy, winning or losing, you can accept losing and learning, realizing how important that is. So, I, I'm really big on the values and the mission and the covenant and the idea of why are we here and what are we doing it for? And I've always been curious about business because business and professional sport is a dollar sign. It's profit, it's winning. And minor sports, um, it's not, it's an opportunity to develop life skills and not lose track of the perspective you need. Uh, and that's what we're just trying to maintain perspective at the level we work at. Tom, Peter, they've done it all their lives. I think it comes from teaching and what teaching entails, being coaches so long. But talking about minor hockey organizations and your course, everything you're saying, Sami, is absolutely uh, in line with what I'm thinking. It's just how what can we take away from it to use? So, Peter,
Yeah, I don't I went to the truck to pick her up because it's pouring rain right now, so I don't hear the rain pounding down the truck or not, but I'm in the pickup
We
line.
don't.
But
You actually sound great. Yeah.
all right, great, good. To me, Wally and Sami, like what you're talking about is I've always felt there's a difference between a program and a team. Uh, a team is a group of individuals who successfully accomplish a task together. A program is, regardless of who those individuals are, because of the culture, because of the systems that you have either on your team or in your company, the people that you bring in, because it's natural in the company, people get other jobs, people retire. So you've got to fill in those spots. You have an actual program when it doesn't matter who has been inserted into those roles, you're still able to accomplish the same goal. So to me, that's always been my goal when I have coached is to create a program with my team. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Love that. That's really well said, Peter. And I love the differentiation you made. So that makes a ton of sense.
yeah, I think you're 100% you're spot on with that. And that's what you're talking about, right? It doesn't matter, kind of next player up, so to speak.
Love that. Tom, do you want to chime in?
Yeah,
We can
I,
see you now, by the way.
yeah, I figured out something on my computer here. I got the video. There needs a little work here. I got it all
Yeah, you
cut
look
just for
great.
this
Don't worry.
meeting, and yeah, I totally agree with Peter. You go from place to place. You can see where there is a program, and you can see where everything is hodgepodge. Like I was assistant coach of the Sept 2018-19, and they gassed the women's coach and asked me to take over after Christmas. We only won 3 games in the last year and a half. It used to be a great program before, and it was like really had wasn't like a team whatsoever. Mike Kennedy was helping me at ex-NHL. He had the players sit down in the dressing room and put chairs facing each other. And he said, well, who's in and who's not? Girls, he said, sit there. You're in, you're not in. A few girls sat in the in one. I said, no. So we started dealing with it because different players were running different parts of the team kind of deal. There was no, they were pretty good. Rolly helped me at the very end with them. really made a difference. We went 6-6, had to beat top team twice to get in the playoffs. We beat them twice, but unfortunately, second was an overtime win. We lost the tiebreaker. Wally was on the bench. But what a difference when you get everybody on board thinking the same way. Because otherwise, there's no consistent. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it makes total sense. And it's not easy when you have a team like that to start.
Yeah, because they have their internal leadership. And what happened with that team is they kind of backed off, the ones that they basically were leading like it was a rec team that was getting scholarships and equipment and sticks. But they were the ones that were supposed to decide the power play and all this kind of stuff. That was their big complaint about the girl that they fired. She was actually making coaching decisions, and they wanted to be. And then some of them raised her. The next season, some of that started coming out again. I was the coach. You could see where she had the problems. People were still around, and so that's something that it's hard to get a handle on that kind of stuff. And I'm sure in business it's the same thing. Somebody gets mad because somebody else got the promotion.
I think part of it too is, owning those mistakes from year to year as a coach and learning, like we're not all going to do it right the first time, and we're not always going to have the right people. But how can you learn? Like Wally said, every situation is a learning situation so that you can then communicate that in the future. And you have that as your lowest common denominator almost,
And I think it's something that, like in education, they never taught you how to discipline. So you come in and, like when I went to school, strap was common and all this kind of stuff. So what you do is you basically do what was, your experience and those kind of things. And what you're talking about, I don't think they ever teach people management skills. I've seen people, really nice guys, teachers and that, and then they get a promotion to assistant principal or vice principal or something, and their personality absolutely changes. Now I'm the king, and you don't even want to be around them. So it's a skill that really important to learn.
Yeah.
Sami,
okay. Yes.
The Peter principle. What have you learned from what you're doing about the Peter principle? Anything?
What's the Peter principle? Like Peter Whitney?
No. The Peter principle is people rise to their level of incompetence.
People rise to the level of their incompetence?
Yes, that's
That could be me, Wally.
back in my era. There were leaders in organizations that got promoted that didn't have the leadership skills, and they protected themselves and became autocratic, created layers, and organizations are, the Peter principle is degree of competence, and whether they're willing to be open and learn and understand that leadership really is servitude.
Like you're right, Wally, that people get promoted without competence almost 100% of the time. I mean, people get put into positions. Anytime you apply for the next promotion, the next job, usually it's beyond your grasp and you have to learn, right? And so it's up to the person to be of that wanting to learn, but it's also up to the organization to create not safeguards, but learning opportunities, just as it is in programs and in coaching or in hockey organizations. You can't just put a coach in place and then leave them to the wolves. Like you have to have, as an organization, ways for those coaches to learn, to be mentored, to see other coaches coach, to know what works, what doesn't work, those kind of things too. So I think it works both ways. But we'll from now on call that the Peter Whitney effect. Rise to the level of your incompetence. Okay, Wally, let me move on to the next class. We still got 3 classes to get through. These classes don't really relate as much, but I still think I learned and learning so much from them. So this one I wouldn't have thought that I would have learned so much about coaching, but I think it really does relate. So this is financial accounting. So at first glance, it might not look like it really relates to the hockey world necessarily, but a couple things. One is it was really hard, and there was a ton of information thrown at us really, really quickly. So as a learner, having to go to tutorial sessions, having to look online, find these other ways to also learn on top of not only the way that the professor is disseminating the information, which isn't landing with each person, but as the person trying to find ways to make it make sense. Now, I'm an engineer, so I love numbers, but financial accounting is more logic, and it is different than I kind of thought it would be. It's about bookkeeping semantics, and really making sure that logically everything makes sense and that the steps are all taken so that you can make decisions at the end. That's really what financial accounting is having everything in place and having done everything you possibly can do to be able to make the correct forecasting decision. So reading the numbers, it's like understanding advanced hockey analytics. And I know that for a lot of us, a lot of this stuff is new, but understanding whether it's Corsi, Fenwick, various different hockey analytics programs. And if you don't have those programs within a minor hockey system, which not all of them do, being able to think and see on the ice what are expected goals, what were good plays, what were plays that the player looked like they were making the right decision and the play just didn't happen that way. So being able to coach to that way as well, and how to evaluate your team performance over time. So having matrix in place so that you're able to, when you're right in it as a coach, you don't often see the improvement. But having some guidelines or some things that some set matrix at the beginning so that you can analyze over time against those, I think is really key as a coach. Back to the resource allocation, ice time is a bit like cash flow. You only have so much to go around, and how you spend it really matters. So ensuring that you get every player into situations that are going to help them improve. But yet, there's still this overarching idea that you want to be the best team as well. And so how do you do that? And so that's sort of like cash flow within an organization. You only have so much to go around. You have to make the tough decisions. Do you give it to marketing? Do you give it to research and development? Where do you spend your money? Where do you put your ice time? And then sustainable growth. So just as a company avoids overspending, a coach has to balance pushing players hard enough to improve without causing burnout or injury in those situations. So the takeaway for the coaches is that numbers always tell a story, and that having as many numbers as you can will only help with your decision making, whether it's money, whether it's minutes. Tracking and understanding key metrics really will help make you be a better team, but also make smarter coaching decisions. So I'm going to open this up and get your opinions on that.
I just got a point here, trying to make it minor hockey.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking finances, you've got an association budget, but basically parents pay a fee. Then they have to raise money and there's cash calls. So basically, they're the ones affording the experience. And how that money is utilized is decided by board members with deciding to prioritize that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the volunteer of the parent and those that do volunteer and their perspective is so critical to the sustenance of a culture in an organization. And I think what minor hockey organizations to do is have to just create a synergy between the parties. And
Mhm.
that's one of the most difficult things of all. But I just wanted to bring up the parents and the appreciation. My role is actually just to go to games and sit with parents. And I'm the grandfather figure, and uh, I may be on a bench running a drill like I did last night from the bench. The coaches are running it on the ice, and but the parents know me because I've been around at every age level for a few years. And so the relationship with them is very good. And I believe that the vast majority of them have the right philosophy and perspective of why their kids are in the sport. And at least sport, that doesn't mean they're not there to win. I think they really do appreciate what it takes. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to get that out. And
Well, and I love that aspect too, Wally, of seeing the best in people too. Like you do see the best in people, so
yeah.
that's a skill too.
So, Tom, anything to add on?
Well, I think what Sammy goes relate to hockey, it's almost like moving Moneyball, where you seen that movie?
Yes, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, and that's what that's all about, right?
Mhm.
You, you gather statistics, and they got that or something. Became a very elite team because they started trading for players that nobody paid much attention to, but the statistics showed that they were really reliable players in certain situations and
Those
this sort of
stats too,
thing.
I like Tom, I think of you emphasizing hard, crisp passes. Not many other teams do that, but just recognizing that that can be a differentiator because that stat in the past has shown to create skilled players. Um, and that you do that, like that to me is the differentiator too.
Oh, it's incredible. Like that the passes that we keep, that you see some players make one pass and complete a pass in the entire game. Oh, like how effective are they out there? They're
Mhm.
they're, uh, they're turnover machines, kind of. They get the puck, they're going to get rid of it, and it really shows who can play the game and all this sort of thing. And it shows what you really have to work on. In your hockey, your job is to get better. You have to practice to that. Bob Murdoch, I used to sit beside him for years in the dressing room, plus 55. And he said the only stat he really focused on was every time you get the puck, you either make a play or gain a zone. So the other team doesn't end up with a puck unless there's no other option. And he had some stats on that too. So if a player just gains his own, dumps it out all the time, and he plays there, plus for that. But he said if your team is about 65%, you have a good chance of winning. 70% you're going to win by a lot, and 60% you're going to get beat by a lot. The puck management, and then
Would you do that like rewatching a video later?
yeah,
Or would you be doing that in the moment? Because that's hard skill for a coach in the moment.
well, you know, I pay attention to who makes plays when they get the puck, and the other team got the puck every time they touch the puck. But that stat I have someone keep really reinforces that. Some of the players will have 20 passes completed, or another one has two. And so I agree with you totally on the keeping, keeping data, and that helps you as a coach plan practice and I did it for the second pro team, American coach. I did it for him in his games and in the Red Bulls. He really appreciated it. Getting some hard data to making very valuable way to say data.
Maybe
Just give a
something
little
too that
example.
in
My
minor
son,
hockey, coaches can allocate that to a parent, right? Like that might
yeah,
be something a parent could take that step.
well, that's what's happened the last few years. My son started a small law firm, two girls, they all graduated together. And the financial stuff you're talking about, none of them took a business.
Hmm.
And the lawyer stuff, they were great at the lawyer.
Right. But the other stuff is tough. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you got to pay these fees for your license and all this kind of stuff. Track of everything. That was the most stress he had. This is
Yeah.
this financial kind of stuff. Uh, he just changed jobs to be a prosecutor.
Mm.
So that's a big challenge for him too. And when this for he had his first trial with a jury 2 weeks ago,
Oh, that's stressful.
and that was really neat to experience. Anyways,
I think he won.
yeah, he
Mm.
did win it. He was really
Oh, that's
worried
fun.
because they hired these high priced lawyers, and they tried to confuse everything, kind of like the O.J. Simpson case where
Oh,
they
yeah.
argued about
Yeah.
DNA for days. You know, so he was afraid it was going to get thrown out and all this kind of stuff. But anyways, that's kind of kind of neat to watch. Get an update from how
Oh,
it's
good for
going. And
him.
he ended up winning.
Sami, there's a program when you talk analytics and numbers and learning from the numbers and using the numbers well. It's Instat. It's used
Oh,
by
yeah. We used Instat with
yep.
the Furies, the Toronto team. Hmm.
Tom. How do you use Instat?
Well, I look at the data, and you know, gives you information about each player and how your team did, and that's useful. Jim likes it a lot. He really likes it, and I look at it to get a kind of general view. The way I distribute responsibilities for the team, more or less in terms of the forwards. It's very useful.
Hmm. So does somebody film the game for you and you upload it to Instat?
Well, yeah, it's part of our league.
Oh,
Every
the
game
league
has to
pays
be
for it.
every yeah, every game has to be videoed. And this rink, we're going to play this tournament, and this weekend's hardest rink. It's all flat for the
Mm,
video to get the numbers, because the numbers calculated, how many everything they
right.
did. And yeah, so every game you get a report from Huddle. Instant
Do you
stats
have
on.
to film it or can you use like Live Barn or no?
Uh, they have a separate camera. I don't know if does Live Barn have that weird shaped rink?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a little story about Live Barn. Is I got a new manager, and she texted me earlier in the week. She says, "Well, Tom, I'll be gone for 2 weeks, but I'll still do the managing from there." And I said, "Oh, when do you leave?" She says, "Oh, I'm already on the beach in Maui right now." So, but we played Airdrie on Sunday, and she watched the game live on
It's pretty
morning.
amazing that you can. Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Even my
pretty
women's
amazing.
rec team
Hmm?
will cut clips, like funny, they're usually funny clips,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they'll put it on our like WhatsApp group. And but it's like pretty good images. I'm pretty amazed.
Oh yeah, it's unbelievable the information when
It's,
you
Yeah.
it's
use it, I
great.
guess.
It's a great resource from an organization point of view. We're holding coaches accountable to the minutes players play. If you have four lines, that's 15 minutes each. And we don't want anybody to get less than 11 or 10, between 10 and 11 minutes. And I think there's something a team is doing now, and there's players that have 4 or 5 that have 25 and 28 minutes. So it doesn't take too much to figure out. Some others are getting something like 6 and 7, or there's a whole bunch at 10. But it it relates to the ability to make everybody feel part of a team if they get to play and learn and develop. And that's what the message that I sort of want to deliver to our organization. And we're working really hard at it. So
Let me talk about the next class because it relates to this. So I'll get into this. It's called Business Decision Models. And it's basically stats. Now, I never took stats. I did math, obviously, and physics as in engineering, but never did stats. So a lot of the calculations are new for me, and a lot of the analysis is new for me. So we're working as a team with an organization to help optimize their analytics as well. So we've been tasked to work with a volunteer organization, a team or association, somebody that can benefit from some of the analytics. So we haven't started that yet, but that's what we're doing. We're midway through this class, but I guess what I've learned so far in this is similar to what I learned in financial accounting. But it's a little bit different because it is, I think, more kind of math based than logic based. But this course really, like coaching, allows us to use data and models to make better decisions, like the video analysis we talked about, and game planning in hockey. So decision making under uncertainty, and hockey is full of variables. There's injuries, opponent tactics, referee decisions. But creating models in advance that can prepare you for different scenarios. So just being ready and prepared. I think that's one of the biggest things, to be able to make decisions later on. So unexpected situations, what to do when you pull the goalie, who's going to go on, like having all of those kind of thoughts prior to the game and being prepared as a coach. Regression analysis, which was new to me, but it's identifying patterns that happen in a game, which lines are producing the most goals, or which defensive pairings are reducing scoring chances. And as a coach, it's not easy. It's not easy to coach and look for those things at the same time, but being aware so you can make future decisions based on what has already happened. So whether that's simply ticking boxes on a scorecard that you might have in front of you, but whatever works for you, having a way, and maybe that you have assistant coaches that can look for that you're talking between periods, but being able to make good future decisions based on patterns that you've seen happen already in the game. Optimization, so finding perfect balance between offensive and defense, power play units, practicing those in practice. What is going to get the most from everybody? Do you have everybody practice power play? Do you have just certain lines do more of it because you know they're going to play more in the games? Figuring out what works best for your team, and not necessarily from other teams, but using that data to analyze moving forward, and always trying new models as well. There's no model that is perfect. I think that was one of the things that's really been reinforced, is that it's the individual that is making the model. And so being able to change that based on what you're seeing. AI and analytics, tools like ChatGPT, and being able to use those as tools to help you moving forward. I think when we first went to school, we had to sign all these documents saying we were never going to use artificial intelligence, and that was against the ethics of the university, and you couldn't do anything, and blah, blah, blah. And then first class was the role of the GM, and he had us open up ChatGPT right in class. And all of us kind of looked around like, is this allowed? But realizing that that's the reality of the business world, is that AI is there, it's going to stay around, it's the reality of the coaching world. So use it as a tool, and use it as a place to ask questions. It's almost like a little buddy that you can have that can create drills, can create so much more scenarios for you that you can ask questions. It's not perfect either. It's a model, but it's like going for coffee with a friend. And so treat all of these new tools as opportunities to learn yourself as a coach. I think the key takeaway for me for coaches is to trust your instincts, of course, but back them up with data that analytics can sharpen your decision making under pressure and being prepared so that when you are under pressure, you know the decisions that you are going to take moving forward based on what you've already analyzed prior. So that's what I've learned from this class. So I'm going to now open that up for any comments.
Sami, just as you talked, I wrote down, as you're watching the game, you make adjustments. You might line combinations, whatever, in-game adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
But as I watch a game and watching video, if you watch video, you're planning your next practice based on that. In other words, what do we need to do better? What are we doing well? And what is the opponent doing that we can do takeaway options more? So that's the idea of those adjustments. And you said the word instinct. It takes a lot of experience to coach with your gut. And I think, I don't know at what point coaches, and I just watched the special on Montreal Canadiens on Rebuild, and excellent footage with the general manager and the assistant talking about the this kind of thing. And the one guy said, well, we've got all the data, we've got all the analytics, he says, but right now I'm relying on the eye test. And I think that's one of the issues a lot of coaches have with statistics and data. They're learning how to use it, absorb it, and some of them are absolutely disdain to it. And I think you have to get on board and understand them and see how you feel about them and whether you can use them or not. But they're important. They become a part of coaching. And the simplest one that I found with Tom was the keeping of completed passes, a parent recording that on a whiteboard, sending a picture to Tom between periods, and players being aware of the importance of passing. Mission accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
those are the kind of things that now we've added to that, Sami, for hockey coaches and those people who are doing that stat. Record consecutive passes. So it might be slanted lines for completed, but a number for 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, because that is a rarity at any level in minor sports. So it's a great stat. I think that the one that has had the biggest impact in terms of the importance of, and you said it years, not many years ago, when you were coaching your kid, the idea of scanning and kids seeing the ice and doing something because they saw, they made a decision. So this all ties into.
It's interesting, Wally, because I was just talking about that with my daughter, who's 9 now, and
Okay.
giving her some independence, right? So as a child in today's society, like when do you let them go off on their own? And we have a park near us, but it's hidden. It's not around. She likes to get into her imaginary world and she loves just playing. She loves going to the park. And so we've started to let her go to the park by herself. And we put a watch on her and she has a timer that goes off in 30 minutes. She has to come home. But the thought of scanning and of scanning your surroundings, knowing what's around you when you walk into a park, who are maybe the parents that have children that you could go to if you're not feeling comfortable? Where would you run if somebody comes up to you? If you're all by yourself, like where do you go? And so we're just talking about scanning, and it's such a life skill that I don't think we talk enough about it in real life either, of being aware of your surroundings, where you would go, what situations you would do. And as we're walking to the park, sometimes we talk about scenarios like what happens if two people come up to you and say, the person comes up and says, Mommy and Daddy have been in an accident and they're at the hospital. You need to come with me. And so she has to think quickly, like, what would I do? You know, and a lot of times her answers are wrong. But we have to talk through the right answer and what you would do and things like that. So anyways, scanning is key.
That's
But Tom,
excellent.
you do you have some comments on the insights?
Well, look at the, I think if you look at the stats, like the in-stat things, first of all, watch the game on, on your own, have video, and look at the, uh, see if you recognize what the stats showed you. And that, then you can, and the stats will, sometimes you don't notice things. Check that out and look for it, with video game or whatever. Like right now, I'm in the middle of planning a practice night and last practice before this tournament, and also using the information and then implementing things is kind of crux of the matter, I think. Is that the kind of answer you're looking for?
Tom, I feel like the last little bit you're cutting in and out. Wally, do you feel like Tom's cutting in and out?
Yes, you are, Tom. For some reason, we couldn't, it was broken up.
Maybe I'll try to switch to a.
Actually, when you're close to the speaker, it's okay. I feel like your speaker is maybe just directional. It's when you're off to the side a little bit.
Okay, I'll hear me better here.
You're just more consistent. We could hear you. It just was like it would go in and then come out and go in and come out.
How about this?
Yeah. Say something longer. So say what you just repeated at the very end there. See if it goes in
Well,
and out.
Things like Instat and chart, with the passing and this sort of thing. What I use it for, then I look at those things when I watch the video of the game. So I'm using the eye test plus backed up by the stats. So then it gives me something to kind of focus and look for.
No, that's great. And you sounded great too. I think just, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I've got a remote speaker.
Oh, gotcha.
That's probably why it's not very good. Like our team, we have now that they allow us to have 20 player, like 18 skaters instead of 17.
Mhm.
We have it that everybody is either on a power play or a penalty kill. So it can look uneven sometimes. Say you have all kinds of power plays. Power play people are going to play a little more. They're going to play more than the penalty killer, or vice versa, right? The team's all undisciplined, you're getting penalties all the time. But then what we do is we flip around one power play group, and they go to penalty killing, and so everybody by the end of the
Do you
year,
make the
everybody.
adjustment right in the game or you make the adjustment next game?
No, it's what we're doing. We have one power play we have a 1 and a 2 power plays. They're going to be together all through this tournament, and then we'll switch another group for the number 2. We're going to keep the number 1 together because they're so much better than the other ones. It gives us a chance. Just not that good right now, and so then the other kids will kill penalties, and the other ones will be on the power play. But that during the game, depending on power play penalty kill, you're going to could have an uneven amount of ice time, but not that much. But, then after Christmas, we decide who was the best power play players. And then we kind of go with that the last after Christmas. But it's funny the way the schedule goes is we play 12 games the first half. Season started in October to Christmas, 12 games after. Right now, with the two tournaments, we're playing that many games in like 3 weeks.
Wow.
We'll play
Are they
we'll play an
shorter
exhibition
games
game,
though in
and
tournaments? Are they shorter
well,
games?
we'll play at least 4 games this weekend. And if we're in the final or semifinal, bronze game, we play 5. And the same thing in Kelowna. We play sometimes 2 a days. And it's really nice to have 4 lines when you have 2 a days.
What's the length of the period?
We play full-time games, stop
Oh,
time
full
60 minutes.
games. Wow. It's a lot.
Yeah, so 2 in a day is tough. Like last year, the provincials, we played the best team first. And then we played a team from Edmonton who was pretty good, but not near as good as that team, right? Yeah, a lot of players were exhausted from playing the top team. They barely won that game. But some of the players just didn't have great games.
But that's just really hard to prepare for because um you don't want to pace yourself. You got to win the first game.
Yeah, you
But you
have
got
to
to
win.
save something, right?
Yeah, well, and in the provincials, it's 5 teams, and you can't lose 2 games. You have a chance for the
Hmm.
final. So then I know that one. The second game we had to start players just to get through the win. Some players were pretty upset about it. That was just that game there. Those games that you're out if you win, they're kind of like everybody gets prize time then. If you win. But but anyways, that's
Does everybody else also have 4 lines?
no, some teams like the Edmonton team, a lot of teams just go with 3 lines.
Okay.
Like
So that's tough
Okotoks,
when
they
it
just
comes
have
to
three
these
lines.
kind of tournaments. Yeah.
Yeah, but some teams they've made a decision in the organization not to have 4 lines. A lot of parents complain about 4 lines, my kid isn't enough ice time and all this. So they changed. It was 17 players before, which was a really clumsy number for like skaters.
Yeah.
You'd have 3 lines and then these 2 players, right? And
So what would you run? 3 centers?
well, sometimes 3 center. Well, 1 period, 1 player would double shift.
Okay.
We did a lot. 1 player might double shift, or you can have 1 line, 2 lines of 4 players. There's all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
4 lines is just so much better, and it's so much better for practice as well.
Hmm.
For running like tonight, I plan on doing Thomas Pacina's little regroup. We'll be dumping in and forechecking because I'm going over a forecheck, and I can do 4 lines with that other always clumsy working
Is
people legs.
Thomas still overseas?
Yeah, he's in. He moved back.
Yeah. I knew he moved back. I didn't know if he was in Czech or was in another
Last I
country.
heard, he was in the Czech. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Mm.
I was there 2 years ago. I was hoping he'd come to the conference.
Oh yeah, at the World
But
Championships.
yeah, but he never came.
Mm.
And
I thought I heard that he moved to Italy or something, like with a new partner.
well, he may have.
Forget
I,
which
I
one.
don't. I
Yeah.
don't know. The
But
last
that he
time
still is working for the Leafs over there and still traveling around and stuff like that. So
he
anyways,
could
now
be
that
anywhere.
Wally's
Like
back,
he's
let me get into the last class, which
okay.
is the last insight, and then we can have a conversation about it. So this marketing class, I had never really done marketing, and in the past, I think I assumed marketing was advertising and branding, really. I didn't really realize how much quantitative numbers you can put around it. So I've been a lead on one of the projects in marketing. So I've learned very quickly about a lot of the different aspects of marketing and have really, really enjoyed this class. We're just finishing it. We have one more class to go. So most classes are 7 to 8 classes spread over different weekends. Some weekends you might have 2 of the same class. You might, but regardless, they tend to spread over 2 or 3 months. So we're always getting new classes as other ones finishing. But the parallels to coaching for marketing is that marketing isn't just about selling products, it's also about selling your vision. So for coaches, it's about selling that vision to players, parents, even the fans. I mean, selling your brand. Like, what is your brand as a coach? What do you want to represent? Segmentation. So that's a big thing in the marketing world, understanding the different customers, different why they buy, what their customer journey is no different than understanding the different types of players. So rookies versus veterans, skilled players versus grit players, and how to connect with each group and each different type of player. And how do you get your message across to those different groups? And that's going to be different. And you'll see big companies will market to different segments in different ways. Positioning. So just as you position a product in the market, you're positioning your team's identity. And are you hard to play against? Are you a run and gun team? What is your team's identity? And how are you going to continuously reinforce that with your team? So that's what others see from you. So if you were to ask opponents or coaches that you're coaching against, how do you see our team versus how you internally project your team? That could be 2 different things, and you're not being congruent. So being aware of that. Recruiting, scouting players is like marketing to your ideal customer segment, right? You want to bring in the right people for the right fit on your team. Maybe that's not always able to be done, depending on if you're just given a team or maybe you're picking a team, but ensuring that the players are fitting into the system as well, and that system is reinforced and is projected outwards as well. So you have an idea of what that system is. The motivation. So each player buys in for different reasons, and they buy in differently. The look that the players might have for how they buy in might also be very different. Some might be more laissez-faire, some might be super gung-ho. Some might need stats, others might need stories, just like customers who respond to very different types of marketing. So the takeaway for coaches is that great coaches are great communicators, and that you need to sell your vision every single day. This class also has taught me a lot about learning as well, and not shying away from new learning. So because I was the lead, we did a go-to-market project, and it was not easy. We had to come up with a product and get it to market, basically, and go through all the different layers of the marketing. But because as the lead, I was tasked with how to pitch that project to the class. And so I had to do a commercial. And I didn't know how to do a commercial. I didn't know about any of these programs, but I did it all on AI. So I want to show you guys the commercial I did, because when you're watching this commercial, remember that I have generated each one of the scenes in AI. And I didn't know anything about this 2 weeks ago. So this was done on a website called Polo AI. But it's crazy to think that these are not real people and they're not real scenarios. I've just typed in prompts to AI for this. So without further ado, here's my commercial. Remember it. Oh, hold on. Wait just a second. You probably can't hear anything, can you? I'm going to just share. I'm going to stop share, and then I'm going to reshare my screen so I can reshare it with sound. Okay. So, debut. Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
These are not real people. Just remember that. It's crazy. Farsi. It's not a real thing. That's what's crazy. This donkey was just a picture, and I asked to animate the donkey. I don't know why it went to the let me just finish that. One second. I have to watch the thing again. Oh, this is my let's go to all right. Almost done. That's it. It like that just floored me that it within, well, really within 2 or 3 days, without knowing anything about any AI, anything like that, to go on a website, to just watch a tutorial on YouTube. And what I love about taking this class is that it forces you to find the solutions. And so you're being pushed in all these different directions. And I would have never felt confident to be able to do this. But like, this can be, obviously, we all think at various different ages that we aren't capable of learning something new, or, but this really just shows you when you're put in a pressure cooker that you can. And so that I just often forget that. So thinking about how I can relate all of these lessons and all of these learnings to my actual business. And so I'm just going to end here with, let me just go back to the final few things here. So just a thank you. This opportunity has been a real, I think, growth. Yeah, very grateful for getting the opportunity to do this and to be able to meet such incredible people that I would have never thought that I would have ever met. And really, that's what you ask of every experience, and every coach and every season brings you new people and new people that you get to have an impact on, but also that can have an impact on you. So I think that's overall how it relates, is the opportunity for growth.
That was an amazing video.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm super proud of it, but it's also crazy that I, as a new person to this, could do that in less than a week.
You might go into that in terms of a real life thing.
I mean, I don't know about that, but like,
You have a talent for it. I'm looking at your painting, you're artistic, and it was amazing. Really, it was really good.
the fact that those are not real people, not real actors in some studio somewhere, that is just all artificial intelligence generated.
Yeah, that's amazing. It really reminded me of some of my travels and the stress and not stress.
Right.
I remember,
yeah, that's what we're trying to go for.
I remember being in the tube in London, and you know how there's these things all
crazy, and it's stairs going down.
Oh, yeah. I had no idea which one to do. So I'm trying to ask somebody in London, and they're just sipping by me, like they don't want to talk or whatever. And then I have the same situation in Copenhagen, and this woman stopped, and she took me probably 200 yards to the right tube, and absolutely different, totally different experience.
Yeah.
Just in a
It's
different
like
places.
lights go on, right? And you're just like, this is perfect.
so that one stressful and the one relaxed one. There's like,
Yeah.
Sammy, the you talked about selling your vision and knowing the customers. And years ago, I've heard a number of speakers at hockey talk about hockey hockey coaches are salesmen, and they really, that word is so true at the business level and professional level. I'm not sure I'd use that word. There's a negative connotation for me for
Right.
my
It sounds kind of icky when you say salesman, but you're right. You're selling the vision. When
yes.
you think of it that way, you're selling that.
Yeah. And I had one, it sort of summarizes everything in terms of the very first or one of your early chapters. Um, the knowing your why as a leader, knowing why you're doing what you're doing is a critical point. And one of our midget coaches was at the coaches site conference, and he heard a speaker, a lady that's actually a CEO of an NFL football team. And she talked about have standards, not rules. The
Mhm.
whole
I
talk
love
was
that.
based on that because in sports, every organization create your rule book, your outline, and lay down what you're going to do, and it's not inclusive type of thing. It comes from the top down. And the idea of rules versus standards, does that enter into the business world?
I mean, I feel like yeah, I mean, you guys know that it is very similar and that I think in the business world, um, obviously there's different things on the line, but that um, there's always nuance. And I think in today's business landscape, understanding that different people bring different things at different times. And knowing that as a leader, yes, you have to be able to discipline, you have to be able to get people working in the same direction but there's so much more to life than just this person's business. And so people are going to make mistakes. There's going to be situations that don't go the way you want them to. There's going to be all these. So I love that idea of standards because yes, we can fail a standard and we can, there can be repercussions for that. Rules almost feels like you're in or you're out. And you don't always mean to not do it right. You don't mean to not be able to put in your 100%. You don't mean to do that stuff. But that's the same with minor hockey coaching. Like, the parent is late because they couldn't get off their shift, or maybe they work at a hospital and they were saving a life, or they were mopping up after a life was just being saved, and then their kid's late for hockey. And so, like, you blame the kid? Well, there's got to be standards, so maybe there's a little bit of a repercussion, but understanding the situation, I think, as a coach is so key to developing that trust and to having empathy in all those situations and realizing that rules can be bent a little bit. Yeah, and maybe that's what we call a standard. But I love that idea that she framed it in that way.
Well, I've really enjoyed having you come on, Sammy, as usual. Um, I hope we do something like this again, and we can literally give you any topic, and you would come in very prepared. I'm sure with a PowerPoint, and put put together another video with AI. um, I'll throw this at you. You did a commercial, and I'm wondering about doing a commercial of the good of the game, looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mhm.
It's reality,
Yeah.
and I know you don't have time, but the sport needs it desperately.
Mhm.
And hockey
Well, we have
can,
individual a class. I don't know what it's called. It's coming up, but it's a individual assignment class, some sort of class that you have to work on for 2 or 3 months. Anyways, I really want to reposition it and focus it on my business, and how to grow my business. I mean, obviously, there's reasons that I'm taking this, and to be able to maximize and optimize what I do so that I can give back to the game as well. Um, and so part of that, I think, is going to be learning a lot more of these tools to be able to become quicker and more efficient at them, and maybe be able to generate more videos like that, or just, have more of a presence for people that are making a difference, like you and Tom, that are um, creating that legacy, and that can be shared and disseminated. Because I think right now the culture of hockey is, um, there's just a lot of people that see the bad, and there is so much good within the game. And I think we need to highlight that so that people are not getting lost in the bad, and maybe aren't being um, turning into those crazy hockey parents, but being able to see the end result that we all end up playing back at some point, or coaching minor hockey. So how do we get there in a safe, positive way?
Excellent. So, Sammy, what's on your schedule today?
Weekend coming up because you have affiliates,
Oh
but
yeah, that you are bringing up.
somehow they're not approved to be used. So I've got one injured defenseman,
Okay.
and then last practice, this girl, one of my defensemen, set out the last half hour, said her knee is clicking and it hurts, so I wouldn't doubt that she can't play. So I may only have 4 defensemen, and I'm not sure if I can use any affiliates.
Why are the affiliates not approved? That seems
Don't
like
ask me. I have no idea. I don't. It's on the.
somebody dropped the ball at the association level, or what happened?
Well, we had to get special permission to use one in our game in Airdrie because they threatened with a suspension if I used one without it. And just before the game, they said, "Okay, you can use it." But I got an email this morning saying, "Well, the affiliates hasn't been processed yet." So, anyways, that's a challenge as a coach.
Whole nother level. Yeah.
So I got one forward that played defense up to now. I don't know how she. So do I have her practice tonight on defense? And this kind of think I've done. But one thing I'd like to kind of suggest, I'd like you to look at my Facebook hockey page because I've been putting a lot of stuff on there. But
Yeah.
Coaches seem to really appreciate when I take 1 minute, 90-second video clips of my team practicing.
Mhm.
Most of the coaches, I got almost 30,000 followers, and most of them are minor hockey coaches. So, anyways, I've been putting a lot of these clips on the hockey coach.
I've been on there, Tom, and I love it. I think one of the things that I would suggest, just as this is completely from an outsider, is that I actually don't go on Facebook anymore.
Yeah.
So how do you, without Facebook, then also still disseminate that information? So maybe there's.
Well, I have a hockey site that I've had I started it when I was teaching a hockey class on Malala.
Mhm.
And it's titled just like the book, Hockey Coaching ABCs.com.
Okay.
Hockey Coaching
So
ABCS.
that's great then. Yeah.
And I do a diary of the season. And I post our practices and how the team's going
Yeah,
and all this.
I've seen a lot of. I mean, I think those are great. I think that that's a resource that is ever changing too, and I love that you keep updating it too. I mean, I know that I look at that before my hockey schools every year. So, what is Tom doing? And how?
But the Facebook, when I put some stuff on every day, just for.
Yeah, and I guess people know that that's their community, that they can go and look for it. So if I'm going to look for it, I will look for it there.
That's a non-threatening thing. I mean, nothing you can take that.
Yeah, no, it's more that it's not that I have anything against social media. I just find that when I go on social media, I go down a rabbit hole very quickly and spend a lot of time. And so I try to only go on when I'm specifically looking for something. But I still notice, like if I post a lot, then I'm going to look to see how those are doing. And But I do need to change that for my business so that I do post more often. But I just find social media is just hard. It's hard to like, I don't know, to stay above water, basically.
Well, I know what you're talking about. It's easy to just click on this, that, and the other thing.
Totally. And then I've watched 100 different videos of goalies coming off the post, and now it's 3 hours later.
Well, our goalie, the two young goalies, so Craig, who's kind of the head of the hockey, I guess, he came and watched our practice the other day. And after he came to talk to the coaching room, he was talking about how lost this one goalie was. Kind of on it. Said, do you have a goalie coach? Marlene's coming because I do have a goalie coach. So he really had a lot of input about it. Only got one goal scored on the last game.
Sammy, I've got a question. Your business, what's the scope of it?
The scope of my business. So I essentially run what I would say three different aspects to my business. One is professional speaking. Um, Approximately 90% of my income comes from professional speaking. So I work for corporate or associations as a keynoter, disseminating, doing keynotes and speaking for an hour. I've now started to go into team building. This past summer, I did my first two team building development days with companies, which is a whole new skill because as a keynoter, you're talking the whole time. As a team builder in that situation, you're facilitating and you're listening, right? So that's a different skill than what I have. So I'm hoping to develop more of that and allow my customers or my clients to have a second offering as well. So most of my business is centered around that. The hockey school I run in the summers is mostly just a way to give back. It's a lot of time, of course. But a third of the kids are on bursary. So it's not really a money-making endeavor, but it does sustain itself. And I get to pay the instructors what they're worth and everything. So that's awesome. And then the third is working as an analyst and currently for TSN. And then I'll also be at the Olympics for OBS, which is Olympic Broadcasting Services. And that I say I more dabble in that because I don't work in the PWHL. There's really not that much women's hockey on TV. So, but I'll be doing the 4 games of the rivalry series and then the Olympics. So that's more tournament based. Oh, and the U18s and women's worlds. So that's more like being at a training camp where it's just like 3 games in a day. It's crazy timing. You're tired and you're trying to like sound smart, even though you're on your 18th hour of being awake. But that's really fun and getting to, especially when I get to work with Megan Bozak, who's a friend of mine. And the fact that we get to kind of banter on TV and people will listen is really fun. So, and then getting to go over to Italy and be part of the Olympics, like being in Beijing when the girls won was just really exciting because it's like you're part of their moment. And now getting to share that moment and be live and in person is so much better than being in the studio. So that's the scope of my business.
You're really exciting year for you.
It will be. Yes, a busy year, but exciting.
Well,
You're talking
And
about watching a lot of games. Our tryouts had 130 kids trying or something. We watched 16 games in 1 week.
oh,
Like
yeah.
they weren't all 60 minutes.
Right, but still, it just becomes a lot, right? And then trying to remember like what player did what at what time, and
It becomes a
making sure you
blur
have really
after a
good
while.
notes. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they went from 8 teams to 6 teams to 4 teams. Then we drafted 3 teams. And
I find it difficult to not repeat the same phraseology a lot. You know, like Maddie Philippe scored a goal again, and she's a really good shooter, and she's a really good player. Like, how many times can you say that? So, like, trying to find ways to say that somebody had a really great play. You know, that was a good toe drag and shot top shelf. Well, that probably happens like 7 or 8 times in the course of a day. So how do you like say that in different ways. And so that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah. No, I can.
That can be my next presentation, Wally, is how sports analysis relates to.
That's a good one. A very good one. You know,
Here's a little insight for you, Sammy.
Yeah.
I've noticed that the back pull has replaced the toe drag as the best move. So you've
The
got the
back
puck on
toe.
your forehand side.
Yeah.
David uses this all the time. Your forehand side, and you slide back a little and pull the puck behind your feet.
Yeah.
And I watched the Flames rookie their exhibition game last night all the time. And McDavid, you see him do it all the time. Famous
I'll have
one
to
where he
watch for
walks
that.
through
I
the
feel like that
Dallas
skill
speed.
is it's what I love about this that skill in particular is that they always have the ability to shoot,
Now you
right? So
come
they're
out in the
always
triple
still,
threat position.
yeah, they're always, and so as a goalie, as a defender, like it is so deceiving.
And you're sliding backwards so that you're changing the angle on the goalie the entire time.
Hmm. Yeah, and they make it look easy. I've tried it in my rec, just even on the ice, I can't hold on to the puck
Well, the
at all.
toe drag, the puck ends up on your backhand side, right?
Right.
So you have to make all the adjustments out of there.
Yeah, and goalies can read that nowadays. More so. Okay, Wally, well, do you want to wrap it up?
yeah, I do. I'll do the sort of a formal conclusion here. You've come a long way since you came to that conditioning camp I ran to identify you and push you to come out to the national team. And you've done that, and you've done so much. I just think it's an incredible um, story. Your life is an incredible story. And doing something like this, I think, is really important relative to leadership specifically. But one of the things I like about our group is this stuff is online, available, ethical. And I've had to edit some of the things out of it, but uh, I'm just so happy to hear what you're doing and see what you're doing. Um, I'm turning 80 in December 22nd, and my daughters have booked the arena that's named after me to have a public skate in with anybody who wants to join us. And they're providing hot chocolate and cake, supposedly. So life goes by so quick, and you're living it to the fullest for sure. Tom and I, we're still in hockey. Like, I can't believe it. He still practices and skates. And we just serve the good of the game. And we just wanted to do good things. And I think being involved in female hockey is really the biggest reason I've been able to get on this tangent of doing things with some perspective. So I want to thank you for coming on. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to have some fun editing it and look forward to distributing it, hoping people take advantage of it. It's outstanding. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Wally. It's I mean, that is near and dear to my heart, and you are. So it's because of incredible people like you. And I'm so glad that you and Tom are still involved in the game and get to influence more and more people in this way. So I feel like I come on every week and get to learn so much from all of you. And if others can take a little bit away from this, then it was fun putting together. So thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And hopefully see more of you guys in the future.
That was
Okay.
great, Sam.
Take care, Sammy. Bye bye.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Take care. It was really good, Wally.
It was really good.